Welcome to Sideline to Baseline with your host MB and K Lou. MB is absent today. He got a celebration time, baby. Um, but we got the Haven in the building, and man, we're excited about this NBA Finals. It's been awesome. Just so excited for uh the the parody and the man they gonna blow them out and man like boy it seemed like how the Golden State beat the Celtics and then now it's 2-2 and a lot of people predicted 7 games. So what's your thoughts about that, Dave?
Yeah, I mean it's been like almost a pretty evenly matched series so far. I think we might see seven. I don't know if either team could beat each other twice on the home floor. So I got Golden State tonight. That'd make it 3-2. Then I got Boston. Then I think Golden State ultimately takes the series. Um, but it's been a great series so far. I really like what Steph did Friday night. It was simply amazing. He put him on his back. I think you had a topic last show, K. Lou, about stars just going out and getting it. And Steph, I mean, that's what he did on Friday night. So it's up to Boston Stars to respond tonight. Tatum's got to shoot better than 34%.
Yeah, and you need a superstar moment. And that's what Steph is giving us. Sadly, though, I think he has to play like that for the rest of the way. I think he has to do what LeBron showed us and what Mike's shown us in the past. That you know what, I'm gonna do this multiple games, and because I don't think besides Boston having that horrible third quarter, they haven't shown us anybody else can beat them. And when I say that, I'm saying Boston hasn't shown that anybody else on Golden State can beat them unless they have a horrible, quarter in the best quarter that Golden State's always continues to show us.
Yeah. One thing will be interesting to see how Boston comes out and plays that tonight. That what's that pick that they do where Steph is just, they run the pick. Are they going to send another man instead of falling back in the paint a little bit? I think Udoka has to come to that decision tonight and say, hey, we let Steph get off, but if, like you said, Kalu, to your point, can anybody else beat us? So
right.
Let's do everything we can at Steph tonight, and he's not going to come off that little screen, pick and screen, and dribble shoot. And let's see what happens to see if someone else can beat them. I thought Wiggins had a good game with the rebounds the other day. Clay had his moments. But the concern is now that I think Golden State kind of stole Friday night. They stole one. And in an NBA Finals, a 7-game series, stealing one game like that, Clay could get hot tonight, at home. You never know.
And I'm hearing that, but I think I've checked out of that. Like,
really?
Meaning, this is Clay's, first year back. Essentially, and off of 2 major injuries, usually, I know on the football side, usually you don't see that real guy until that following year. Problem is though, he's getting older now, so it's not like a younger guy that has a year to kind of waste and come back. Bottom line, I don't think Clay is who Clay was, approaching. I've really felt like he was on that line of Hall of Fame. I think that's gone now. I think Steph is one of those superstars that we're now saying, where is his help? And he's in the finals. And we're saying, where is his help? As if it was a LeBron James team of, when he came back from down 3-1 with or when he still fought with no Kyrie. You remember Kyrie got hurt like the first game. I don't think, maybe he played that first game and then got hurt. And then Kevin Love never touched the floor the whole series. So, it's starting to be reminiscent of that. Now, do they have, like, when you look at their lineup, though, you don't say that. Whereas LeBron's lineup, you looked at it and said, oh, he ain't got nobody. You know what I mean? But
Yeah.
you're not saying that because I think we still keep giving Golden State credit when they had their run. Even if they win, I think that run is over, especially how Golden State has basically dug in and bought into that core group, and they seem to be too loyal. You know, LA will get rid of you, but you know, it's like they're loyal to Draymond, they're loyal to Clay, and they need to be trying to get off them contracts.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I think the questions around Draymond are really starting to come out after, especially the other day when he was benched close to the end of the game. I think he played the last couple minutes, and Clay isn't where he used to be. I mean, I think that's obvious, but I think K-Lou in a series he can give you maybe one or two good games. I mean, if he gives them one tonight and Steph goes off tonight and Wiggins plays well. I mean, Wiggins is pretty consistent. Then I think they still have a good shot. I'm not saying he's going to do it all, 7 games of a series or however long a series may go. But if it just has, one flashback game, then it could change. It could really give Golden State the leg up.
Well, and I hear you saying he can have one good game, but I think we saw him be special maybe 3 games this year, reminiscent of the old Clay. I mean, he's having a couple quarters here and there, but I think they're not afraid. Think about how many shots he's been wide open with. I think that's kind of like, I'm big at this, and MB will tell you, like, when he's talking about guys that we played against, you know what I go back to? I go back into the defensive meeting room when we're game planning, and if you telling me a guy Hall of Famer and we didn't game plan for you, there's a problem.
Right.
Like if you were that dude, we game plan for you. Like, we gotta eliminate you. We gotta try to surround you. We gotta try. The game plan is about you, and so that's how I look at guys like this. So obviously Steph is that guy. The game plan is about him, but I honestly think Draymond's way too open too many times, and Klay Thompson is too open too many times for me to believe that there's any kind of game planning on him. Because it's times he's getting all the way to the rim and people are parting like the Red Sea, like expectation, like, well, whatever. He may make it, he may miss it, but like I said earlier, he can't beat us. You talked about the pick and roll earlier. You talked about that little screen for Steph in that pick and roll play. I say, like, I'm stubborn, man. You got to continue to play him one-on-one and dare him to have a night like another night. But I'd be darned if I'm going to give Clay, you see what I'm saying, the opportunity to have 10 open looks. You know what I mean? Like, we're going to help off. We'll get to him. But, like, letting anybody else go off would burn me more than him having to score 40 plus to beat us every night. I can sleep at night with him having to do that to win. What I couldn't sleep with is Draymond going for 25 because we ain't guarding.
But that's what I'm saying. I'd rather leave Draymond because I don't think Draymond can go for 25.
Right. And that was a joke more than anything.
Okay.
But to let Poole just catch fire, to let Andrew Wiggins just to catch fire, to let Klay Thompson just to catch fire, I'm not willing to do that. But Steph hasn't proven to us. I'm saying last game was an anomaly, especially coming off of an injury. And he could have just been ready to go and knew they were in trouble. They don't get that win. Maybe that was a game 7 to them.
Okay, he's having 34 in the finals, though.
That's true. 34. But I'm saying I don't see them beating them anymore unless he's having nights like that.
I don't know if he has to go. That's what I'm saying, though. If Clay gives him just a little more, just one time, that's 3-2. Like, say it's tonight at home. That's 3-2. All he's got to do. And then, I think there's been games where when I watched it the other night, I think there's other players that have sneakily good games. You always bring up Wiggins. I think he had 18.
He's still doing it. Yeah,
18 and 15 boards. I think Clay had like 14 or 15 the other night. If he gives them 20 tonight, Wiggins has the same game, and Steph doesn't score 43, but he scores 30, 30, 32, 33. I still think Golden State could win.
It's more about it's almost like his points do more than just going to the basket. It seems like it gives them so much energy. It seems like, oh, here we go, boy. So it's like all that extra stuff that we don't account for that him going from 40 does. It's like it just gets his team ready to go when they see him hitting like that. When he's struggling a little bit, the whole team goes into the tank. And that's what I'm saying. Like I'm more worried about like I'm daring him to have a special night like that because then it electrifies everybody else and gets them going. I don't think he can do that. That's all I'm saying. I would much go ahead.
I think he can, and I do agree with you. They were really desperate kind of last game where he had to play like that because they couldn't go down 3-1.
Right.
So, like, do they have the same desperation with the series tied? I don't know, but they're at home. I think that's the difference. Even though Boston already beat them once at home in game 1, I still think that it's going to be hard to beat them again at home.
And then Boston, even in the losses, they continue to show that maybe not on paper, but on the court, they're a better overall team than them because they're getting that second, third, or fourth guy who's usually not at the top, when it comes to scoring, being a number 2 guy. You know what I mean? Like Smart has played out of his mind.
Yes.
We still haven't had Grant Williams to get involved like he normally does, have a game or two there. But we're having not Jason Tatum, but Brown. Yeah, we're having him to now get confidence to the point where I don't know if you noticed, but game 2, 3 and 4, he's backing up every time he sees Draymond on him. Like, okay, you about to get these problems. Like, it's like they're running the offense. Then he noticed Draymond done switched off on him, and Jaylen Brown backs the ball out and like, I'm about to do you. So he's playing with tremendous confidence. Tatum needs to be more efficient. I think he needs to also be. Watch this. This is crazy because I'm saying efficiency, but he needs to shoot way more. He needs to have a Steph Curry type of night.
I think he needs to try to go to the basket a little bit. I agree he needs to shoot a little more, but he needs to go to the basket a little more. I think he doesn't go to the basket enough. I think sometimes Boston, they settle a lot for, and I think that was evident at the end of the game the other night. I mean, they just start settling for threes, trying to match Golden State when you need to just go. If you got Steph on, you go to the rack every time. Jason Tatum get to the hole he left a couple short. There's a couple fouls there, but I thought like sometimes like Jalen was going to the hole, but then at the end of the game, for some reason, they just stopped. They started chucking up threes.
Right.
And it just nothing was going in at the end of the game. I think they shot 4 or 5 threes.
Right. And I said that after the game 1 loss or whatever.
They won game 1.
Well, what was it? Game 2.
Game
2 loss. That's what it was. Game 2 loss. I said immediately what you just said. Like they got to get to the basket because I was seeing Jason Tatum just settle for threes, like you said, and as well as Jaylen Brown wouldn't even try to run by Draymond. And I was like, you're much more athletic. There's no way he should be able to stay in front of you. And not just him, but nobody can guard those two from keeping them, from the basket. And then the problem is there's nobody to block your shot once you get in there. So, I mean, you can have your way. So I agree with you. They should be living on the free throw line. The game should be slowed down. It should be more like a 80s, 90s type of finals. And I think they're trying to get it there, but I mean, I think Steph just put his stamp on that ball game, man. It was just hard. Now, again, like, what do you do out of that? He's not showing us where, like you said, he's averaging 34, but he ain't averaging 43. So
No.
we need, and 43 got us beat. He don't score 43, he scores 34. Boston wins the game. You see what I'm saying? So that
if they shoot better efficient, if they're more efficient, though, they still got to be more efficient.
Correct.
I mean,
they still got to handle their business on the other end. Yeah.
On the other end, they weren't efficient the other night. I think Tatum had 23, but it was like 9 for 23. I mean, it was something crazy. I know we get into percentages, but it was something crazy. I think they just got to be more efficient.
Yeah. I completely agree. Completely agree.
I do think Boston has. I mean, they do have the overall better team. I think Robert Williams is a monster on defense. I mean, it's hard for Golden State to even get to the basket with him. I mean, he erases everything back there. But I just think, like, even if Steph doesn't score 40 tonight and go ham or go crazy, I still think that you'll have enough balance with somebody else. Two or three more players. If Wiggins gives them what he can give them, then they just need one or Jordan Poole or Clay to do something.
And that's what we've been accustomed to saying. That's what we've been accustomed to seeing. But the only other consistent guy on their ball club is Andrew Wiggins. So you can count on him. And I by the way, I did look up his career average. Remember I said 18-20, it was smack in the middle, 19.3 was his career average. And that's just who he is. So he's the only one that you can hang your hat on for giving him. He's gonna give him help. Period. Yeah. Like, that's gonna happen. He's gonna have his 18, 19, 20. Like, that's gonna happen. What, he was a point short this last game, but
he had a lot of boards last game. I mean, those offensive
career high
were huge.
Yeah,
basically saved the game for them, giving them second chance shots. I think with Golden State, to your point when you started off the segment about being loyal to Draymond and Clay, I think this is the year where Steve Kerr might say, hey, we should have got some of those younger guys, the Kumingas, you get Wiseman back. This is the year he should have said, okay, we would develop these guys a little bit more for times like this. So I think if they do steal this series and win this, it'd be a great feat on Steph. Does it put him on Mount Rushmore? I think it puts him pretty close this championship year. If he gets it, which is a big if, but I think next year they start to turn into go.
I mean, if he wins it the way he played last night, like you definitely have to start putting his name with the greats. You got to start mentioning him as well. I'm not saying he's better than them, but now you got to say Magic, Isaiah, Steph. You actually have to start saying that now.
In terms of point guards, definitely. That's four rings. I think Isaiah only has two. I like rings.
Well, I'm not even talking about that. He could only have one or two, and I'd still be saying this, having this same conversation. Yeah, having this same conversation as it relates to what he's done to the game. Like, let's face it, love him or hate him, the game is now different because of him.
Oh, yeah.
And you got to add Clay to it as well, because if it's not him and Clay, then the NBA is not chunking up threes in the percentages. And if you don't believe him, I'll go back to something I said on the show about a year ago when I was watching Gilbert Arenas' podcast, and he had Earl Watson on there. And Earl started talking about when he remember he had the job in Phoenix. He was the head guy in Phoenix. And Earl said they just came off of a decent year. He's looking to really put this thing together. And the executives walk downstairs to him and say, hey, we need to put up 25 threes a game. And Earl's like, okay, Devin, I'm moving him to point guard, so he'll be able to get you 12 to 15 threes a game. But who's shooting the rest of them? Just to show you how Golden State had changed the game, now executives making coaches chunk threes up. And I'm gonna be honest with you, I still wouldn't give them credit until I saw Greg Popovich let his guys chunk threes up like that too. Then I was like, it's official. It's official. And I like to say it ruined or helped the game depending on how you look at it. It brought more parity because everybody can play with everybody now.
Yeah,
like when it was a post type thing, a physicality type thing, then you could point at the 6, 7, 8 big men in the league and say it's coming down to them, right? Like, us growing up. Now with that 3 ball, man, we just saw Memphis, we feel like if Ja Morant's not hurt, maybe Memphis series, with Golden State plays out different. Maybe Golden State still wins, but it plays out different. Why? Because they had that guy. I can't even. Not Bane, was it? What's his last? It was Bane.
Yeah, Bane shoots threes,
knocking down threes like crazy, and all of a sudden, this is a series. You know what I mean? Just because of the 3-point ball. So I'm just saying, for what Clay plus Steph did for the NBA, and then Clay, people, my brother said this a couple years ago. Why everybody think that kid can be Steph? He's still 6'3". You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, but in the rest of the country's mind, their kid can make it now because Steph's dominating the league.
I give you a prime example. I was on a work trip, and one of the guys was going back. I think Golden State was playing Dallas, and he's an Indian guy, and he's like, my son, is AAU bound, and this is an Indian, first generation Indian, and he's like, my son Steph Curry is everything. He's AAU, and his son's like 5'11", but because of Steph Curry, I mean, these are other races, still being politically correct. But I mean, he was like, yeah, my son, Steph Curry, everything. Where's the headband? Steph Curry. Steph Curry, that all his shoes, the Under Armour shoes, everything is Steph Curry. And he's like, I want him to go to the science camp this summer, but he wanted to go to basketball camp.
Right.
And when you said that point, it just made me think of that. Like, everyone feels like they have a shot now.
And so, I like to think you can't now you cannot write the story of basketball without him being in it.
No, you can't.
Like, you just can't. What he's done off the court to inspire kids who have no chance to chunk up threes to give them a chance, and they still don't have a chance. But they think if I can chunk up enough threes, I will have a chance. He's done that like no other player, and we've seen great shooters. We've always had great shooters, but nobody thought they could be them in the masses that it is now with Steph Curry. And then, even you go to your local high school game, they letting them chunk it too now. It's just what it is now. Like, you go to a high school game, and you may not see, somebody like dump it down in the post for several minutes in between action.
I think it's a prime example as you look at Phoenix and how they're just going to let Ayton walk.
And that's a whole nother subject and conversation.
Like, we don't need a big man.
But yeah, that's essentially it. Like, you don't give us anything. Like, significant enough for us to bet the house on you, but it's no way they'll bet the house on Booker,
37-year-old Chris Paul,
yes, because they can knock the tray ball down. Like, which, if you Aiden's agent, why you haven't been in conversation since he hit the NBA that you need to develop a 3-point shot just enough that they have to walk out on you. That's it. Not like the twin from that's playing
Lopez.
in Milwaukee. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you look at his story, it's one of the best stories, I think, of a guy reinventing himself. Before, I think they did the 5 years ago, 4 years ago, Brooke was averaging like 3 point attempts a year.
Oh yeah, he was very
Look
efficient.
at him now.
He was crazy. He was
Yeah.
averaging 20 points in the paint.
Yeah.
For
But he
Brooklyn.
was averaging 3 attempts a year. Now you can't leave them breathing out there. It's knockdown. And that's all you got to do. You don't have to be Al Horford. You see how all I'm running out there? Yeah, Al ain't no 3-point guy, but he can knock it down if you leave him open. That's it. So that's all you got to do if you DeAndre Ayton. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I said Bobby Portis the same way.
Right.
I mean, he came into the league with the Bulls.
Right.
I think he was on the minimum. He was almost out the league until he started being able to develop that corner. That corner three. Him and PJ Tucker. I mean,
Tucker, yeah.
You can make a career out of just mastering that corner three or the three ball.
Right. And it's the downfall of Draymond Green, because guess what? He used to be able to knock down that same open look. And that's that took him from, a household name and a guy that everybody was talking about. And according to, who was that? I think it was Kenny Smith still saying he a Hall of Famer.
Oh, no.
Yeah. I was like, wow. And then I was like, no. Then I was like, yeah, but it's basketball Hall of Fame. Like, who cares? Like, everybody gets it.
No. I would argue that I like the way Gary Payton Jr. is playing defense better than Draymond right now, and gives you actually a little more.
But he's a Hall of Famer.
Oh, no, he can't. Well, the question is, K-Lou,
what Hall of Famer was a liability in the prime of their career?
That's what I'm wondering. The question, if he wasn't on Golden State, will we be looking at Draymond the same way if he was in another?
No way. We didn't look at him the same way when both Steph was out and Clay was out. He went in the tank. He was exposed for who he is. I need everybody else, for me to be who I am. Like, he's more like a great old school point guard. You know what I mean? That need a great team around him. You know what I mean? To be successful.
Yeah, he should have been the last one running Kevin Durant out of it.
But here's the deal. Like, you have that, and like I said, they're loyal there. They gonna sink with that ship, man. And they gotta move Clay and they gotta move Draymond, but they're not gonna do that.
Well, it's going. Yeah, I don't think they will. I don't even know who takes Draymond with that money that he's owed. I don't know who takes Clay.
Oh, easily. Teams like Charlotte, Detroit, teams especially Sacramento, teams that think, oh, if we have that leadership, if we can have that kind of energy that's demanding, well, that's putting a triple single in the basket. That's what it's doing. But
if he's on his last year of his contract, yeah.
Those are the teams that go for it every time. They thinking, and even like a Memphis team that think, man, he could get us over the hump. And guess what? Early in the playoff series, he will. Like, his energy, his toughness, win a couple series, like that early series for you, because it'll give your real players, it'll get them energy and toughness. You know what I'm saying? Your real guys, just like he do with Steph and all them, they get turned up. Think about it, man. The other night, it reminded me of who Draymond was the other night when he was having that horrible game that everybody's talking about, Game 3, and when Al Horford and Steph dove for the ball, and then right behind him, Smart tried to dog out Steph.
Yeah.
If you look at the replay, it was Smart who actually, because they made it sound like Horford did it. No, Al was like, didn't even see Steph. But who did was Smart. Smart saw him clearly. And he went at Steph when Steph was on the ground. Guess who ran to the rescue right behind him and shoved Smart. Draymond. And that's what, if he's not with Steph, Steph's not as confident. Steph's not he's now worried about getting knocked to the ground, like the Diesel told him through through tweets and stuff that he with Kevin Durant, he was going back and forth and told him he'd put Steph on his behind a couple times and shut him down. Well, Steph don't have to worry about that because Draymond gonna go and fight for him. You know what I mean?
I think what a lot of people try to do was when Draymond, when they were at their peak and Draymond was in his prime, is like try to do like the Rodman comparison with even though their styles of games are different, but what they mean to a team. And I think that's how you get the Hall of Fame talk. But people don't realize Rodman was, he knew what he did. He could do well, which was rebound the ball. He probably was the best rebounder ever. And I don't think Draymond had a little bit better all-around game, but he wasn't a better rebounder. And Rodman could definitely play defense. And didn't try to score because he really didn't need to.
I don't even know, like the peak, I think, of his year. I mean, of his career might have been 12, 8, and 8. You know what I'm saying? 12, 8, and 9. So, like, Dennis Rodman was probably getting 4 or 6 at the same time, but he was averaging 16, 18 rebounds. 20, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's what you're saying.
Like, I think even if you put them head to head, you still gonna take Rodman every time because in what he did defensively and rebounds, he was top 2, 3 in the leaderboard. Where Draymond, if I'm being nice at all, I'm saying the only leaderboard he's top 3 is defense.
Yeah, I thought he was up there in the not top 3, but he was still up top 10.
That's what I'm saying. Like, you comparing a guy that was top 3 every time, defensively every year, Dennis Rodman, and rebounding every year. You naming. Who's going to win the rebound award? You talking about him, Charles Barkley, I can't think. But you talking about Dennis you're saying his name first or second every year.
That's true.
The only thing, like I said, if I'm being as generous as I possibly can to speak about Draymond, is he's going to be top 3, defensively, but not even every year. But Dennis Rodman was every year.
You sure we're not being too hard on Draymond because it's not what have you done for me lately? I mean, you still don't look at that.
No, like MB will tell you, I've been on this. Like, I was on this 2 years ago, like trying to see, and that's when I found out they were super loyal. After, like you said, they got rid of Kevin Durant, or not really got rid of, but when that whole fiasco happened, I was sending Draymond home for the rest of the year. like I know who my guy is. First of all, I'm still shaking, can't believe that we got him. You know what I'm saying? And then you got the nerve to talk to him? No, bro, you don't do enough.
Right.
Like
you the one that's expendable.
Yeah, Kevin Durant can average the same amount of rebounds you got. Like, he can have more. He can have the same amount of assists you doing. But what you can't do is score like him ever.
Right.
And who they gonna guard? You know what I mean? With him out there, like, who they gonna guard?
And then I think when KD and Clay did get hurt against that Toronto series, all they had left was Draymond and Steph, and they couldn't get it done.
They didn't do nothing. And nothing, and they got him, but he can't help you.
Yeah.
If everybody else on the court ain't better than him, he can't help you.
Right. That series was a prime example of that. Toronto, all they had was Kawhi, Lowry, Siakam had a good series.
But well, you talking series? You got an entire year of sample size of him packing it in because Clay was out and then Steph hurt his ankle, and then Draymond was. That's when the triple single talk started with Shaq. Not with Shaq, but with Charles Barkley.
That's true because they end up getting the second pick. They had one of the worst records. They ended up getting Wiseman like they had a lot of the lottery balls. They're like they was in line for the number 1 pick.
And this is what I want you to remember. Draymond goes back at every single person. And he did it Charles Barkley until Charles Barkley came up with triple single. He shut up and started coming on the show and respecting Charles Barkley. Because Charles Barkley had to teach not just him a lesson, but he had to teach the youngins a lesson. They thought Draymond was on Barkley level because of you and your ring talk. I'm throwing that on you and your ring talk. They felt like Charles Barkley wasn't nobody because he don't have a ring. And he let it be known. Listen, ain't nobody coming to that arena to see you. They coming to see them Splash Brothers. Nobody's coming there with you. When you look at the jerseys, you don't see a lot of yours. You see them 2 Splash Brothers. And that's what Charles Barkley had to let them know. He was like, in my worst, series, games, I did better numbers than that. And he going home crying. And you averaging a triple single for the second or third year in a row. Triple single.
Okay, Lewis, what happens if they do win this series? Do they give more credit to that core? Or do they just say Steph is out of this world? You know what I mean?
No,
does Steph pass. If they do win this series, does Draymond keep getting passes?
Yes. Yeah, everybody keeps. I mean, think about it. His podcast is number 1 podcast in the world right now. Why? Why are we watching now a bench guy? Because he ain't playing. He got benched in the 4th. This last game. Like, why are we so interested? Because people still see his value. I've just always struggled to see it. I've struggled to see it besides the toughness, besides that energy that he gives them. He gives them, ain't nobody, we finesse and tough at the same time. You can't out physical us because I'm going to make sure I'm there for all that. You know what I mean? He does that for him, but I don't set him apart for that. I mean, we ain't set Kevin Willis apart for being that for Dominique, so he ain't have to fight by himself. We ain't get him
Charles Oakley. You talking about it? Yeah, you talking about it.
Antoine. Hey, we ain't get Antoine Carr, baby. No credit for that. Did I just give you some? Throw your back.
You acting like Draymond, like Bill Lambier or something like that.
I mean, he ain't even him.
No, come on, Caleb.
All right, watch this. This is what I'm finna. If you talk about the OGs of the stretch 4 position, you just said one. Because what would happen if they ain't step out there and guard him at the 3
Bill Lambier gonna hit the. You talking about if Bill Lambier
at the 3-point line? They had to come out there.
He hit that.
Right. Again, nobody's guarding Draymond. They ain't guard Bill when he put his back to the basket, so he didn't. He ran out there to the corner. He ran out there to the top. That he was secondary. Remember that secondary break you learned about in middle school? He was that guy. Trailing. They work it, and then all of a sudden, nobody's sitting there home. He stepped right into it. Bang! Turn around, run back. Nobody's even guarding Draymond, so you can't even call him Bill Lambier because Bill Lambier make you guard him. Keep trying. Ain't nobody guard Antoine Carr. Yeah. So that's what I'm saying. That's why nobody guarded Kevin Willis. He was another one used to compete for rebounds, top of the rebounds in the NBA every year.
Kevin Willis wasn't bad. Kevin Willis didn't have a bad post game. His post game was all right though.
Yeah, but I mean, he wasn't a problem. He was a problem, and he was put back dunks and he gonna muscle and get tons of defensive rebounds, but he wasn't no. Again, we wasn't game planning for him.
Yeah, I know he wasn't
no. We weren't game planning for him.
He wasn't.
And that's what I'm saying. We watching games, man, where let's think about it, man. It was really bad 2 years ago when everybody was talking about Draymond needs to shoot. But remember, he was running the offense and the dude be at the free throw line guarding him?
Yeah.
And he like, man, bump it. He passing and running through. Won't even look at the rim.
Well, maybe he think he a point forward.
Yeah, hey man, listen. I just don't understand how you don't make yourself listen. I play once a week. They know they better guard me at that 3-point line.
That's a good point you had.
That's all I'm saying.
Your strongest point, K. Lewis, that he's been in the league since 2011 or 12, and he has not developed offensively. He probably regressed offensively. Yeah. I give you that.
Yeah, he was better earlier.
Right. I give you that he's regressed, and he's been in the league 11 seasons, and he hasn't really developed any go-to move offensively, or like you said, shooting's not gotten better out of 11 years. I give you that.
His go-to is go to the rim real hard because nobody's going to guard you because they worry about you kicking it out. That's what it is. They know you more dangerous doing this than this.
Yeah. At 12 seasons, you should develop something.
Like I said, I play once a week. And if my guys were on here, they would tell you they running out there, sprinting out there. When I got the ball at the 3-point line, you got to do. Listen, you just ain't gonna sit there and not guard me, bro. I'm gonna make you guard me. And he's
like you said, he was better earlier. No, he's
a Hall of Famer that you ain't have to guard or game plan for, or worry about it anyway. In a Hall of Famer, that just tells you about y'all basketball. I can't do it. Man, enough about Draymond.
We just spent the whole show talking about Draymond.
Should Jack Del Rio dust up comments getting fined or fired? Because right now he's been fined and Ed Reed said that ain't enough.
He should be fired.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, you've been in NFL locker room, so you probably know better than I do. But from an outsider looking in, you have to know your locker room, and you have to. I'm not saying I don't know the man. I don't know the man, but I think you have to be sensitive and be at least socially aware. If you have those thoughts, I know some people say they like for people to talk how they feel, so you know where they're coming from, and you applaud them for that. But I think that if 90% of your players are African American, then you need to be I think you need to be more conscious of what you say. And to compare the Capitol riots where people lost their lives and dust up to George Floyd stuff is like that is just not well informed at all, and I think he should be fired. I don't think how can you? If I'm a player, you play, Kaylee, maybe you could give your perspective, but if I'm a player, can you really run through a wall for that guy, knowing how he feels? We know what it was about.
Absolutely not. But that's the most important thing, to know that. You know what I mean? To know where his stance are, how he feels. And I will be honest, man, everybody's taking that leap automatically to that, saying about the George Floyd riots and as well as and comparing that, because he did compared it to what happened at the Capitol. And I'm in that group of people that's saying, I appreciate you for that. I appreciate you for that knowledge. But I don't think he should be punished, because players say stuff all the time in support of their side, whichever side that is. They're not punished. You know what I mean? Owners have always been smart enough to stay away from that altogether, publicly. But I don't know, like, what are you fining him for? For telling his truth? Because, I mean, it wasn't insensitive. It's nothing that nobody else has said. You got talking heads on TV saying worse than that. And the same thing, he's basically saying he don't believe his opinion of what happened at even though people lost their lives, his opinion of what happened at the Capitol was not that big of a deal. That's his opinion.
the overturning of he's not Tucker Carlson on Fox News. He's a football coach with 90. I mean, you
all right. Well, shut up and coach. You see what I'm saying? Like that, you get mad when they tell LeBron to shut up and dribble. Like I just don't. I'm one of those people. I want it down the middle. You know what I mean? I want it down the middle, so I'm not concerned not to say anything based upon what my true feelings are, because I just saw this guy get fined for it or cost him his job. You know what I'm saying? Like, at the end of the day, let the people with the tickets make the call. You know what I'm saying? Like, y'all firing him already, or it seems to be leaning that way. They fined him, but now it's overwhelming pressure starting to build up, like about getting rid of him. And guess what? Like, if people don't show up to the game and say we want his head, okay, now we got to make a move, because what we here to do is make money.
Yeah, but you dare to see whoever's on the command of defense. You dare to see Chase Young. You're not there to see Jack Del Rio. You know what I mean?
But you kind of are. You kind of are. No, just you want the best product on the field. He's considered one of the best defensive minds, obviously, because they hired him to be that. I'm just saying, like, you kind of are. Nobody ever is knowingly. But when they bad, you know it. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah. But then how do those players who 90% probably disagree with his views in the locker room, doesn't that hurt team chemistry?
It doesn't, man. And this is why NFL coaches get paid stupid money every year to go into Fortune 500 companies and explain to them what team is. Because how do you get a group of guys with differing opinions, with different attitudes, that are on two different political spectrums and whatever else, maybe more than that. And, how do you get Kyrie to buy in? You know what I'm saying? Like a mind like that. Football is different, though. Like, because there's plenty of Kyries I played with, but that basketball is different. It's not the same. What I said was, why do you think they keep paying NFL coaches stupid money to come speak to Fortune 500? If you heard what I said, because it's plenty of those that I played with, but when it comes down to it, they'll rip somebody's throat out for you, even though y'all don't get along for 2 seconds when y'all walk off out of that locker room and go your separate ways. But in there, it's a different vibe, and it's such a cocoon that they'll be able, again, outside of it, they won't even talk to them. But inside of it, I put all that aside. Like, Ed Reed said it perfectly. Like, in his statements, it was a little bit, here, there, and everywhere. But I wish I would have pulled it up. But he said, guys, make your money, though. You see what I'm saying? Like, that's the meaning, like, don't go in there talking about protesting and all that. Like, get your job done. But now you know who you're dealing with. So,
but if that relationship, you're not going to Ron Rivera saying, Ron, come on, this guy, you know what I mean?
No, see, Ron's tearing that's why Ron had to do, and again, I'm against it, but that's why he had to do what he did, to save face to those same guys. Because now, if you do nothing, you with him, Ron. But now Ron find him. Now it's like, okay, Ron cool, though. You see what I'm saying? But it would kill any dynamic, which, you're right, it ends up affecting the team, because the brotherhood feeling is no longer there. We there to do business now. Like, everybody's there to do business. I'm coming here to earn a check. And as soon as when I earn that check, I'm leaving out the door. Nobody's staying. Nobody's grouping together and staying with him, asking him questions. It's like, no, like, as soon as when that time for us to go, I'm out. It breeds that kind of environment. So yeah, you're right. It will it's not going to let the team get together, but it also won't implode either. Like nobody's going to talk about it, but it's more like we're here to do business now. We're not here to be a team.
Yeah, and he's not a player because there's players. I mean, Nick Bosa, I'm a big 49ers fan. He's had some crazy, insightful tweets. Right. Josh Allen, who everybody loves, is everybody's favorite quarterback. There was a controversy about him before the draft using some pretty bad language and racially insensitive language. Mm-hmm. But as a player, those guys still run through the wall with each other because he's in the trenches with them. So you're right. After they leave, they have their views, you have yours. And I'm not saying it's like that now. These guys probably grown since then. But I just think with a coach, it's a little bit different. So when he's yelling at you now on that practice field, how are you feeling? Like, this guy, you know what I mean?
Right. Well, and then finally, let's discuss. We got a few minutes left. Okay. Your guys, the 49ers, what do they do with Garoppolo? And then obviously Baker Mayfield's in that same conversation. I think he's cut completely. But let's talk about the decisions and what y'all gonna do in San Francisco. What's going on over there?
Yeah, what's going on over there right now is, obviously the guy's got to rehab his shoulder. I think they were going to trade him, but the shoulder surgery kind of impacted them. And I think K-Lou right now, they don't have any leverage. San Francisco doesn't have any leverage. Who's going to take on Jimmy Garoppolo's $25 million contract? So either he restructures to get out of there, or they have to outright release him. And I don't know. I hope they don't release him and we get nothing. But you're not going to get anything but a 6th round pick for him anyway. They've lost their leverage once he got that shoulder surgery. And I think that was Jimmy's way of sticking it to the team, because he waited 3 weeks before the draft to get that shoulder surgery. And that killed everything. So long story short, not to be long-winded, but what I think they do is, I think either they release, the 3 options are release him, bring him back at a reduced salary, or we'll just wait and see if a team gets desperate with the injury in training camp. Can Carolina really go into the season with Sam Darnold as their starter again? Is Deshaun Watson, we got more cases coming up against Deshaun Watson. Is the league going to say, you got to sit out another year, buddy? And then maybe Cleveland says Jimmy's a good stopgap for a year because they can't bring Baker back.
Man, that's excellent analysis. But now I'm going to hit y'all in the mouth and tell you why certain teams always stay to the top. And I just picked this one guy because I immediately thought about him with y'all being in this situation and not pulling the trigger last year. Same situation where you already knew he wasn't your guy and you held on to him. Notable QBs to lead the Patriots under Bill. Garoppolo, traded. Got something for him. Jacoby Brissett, traded. Got something for him. Ryan Mallett, traded. Got something for him. Brian Hoyer, released. Didn't get anything. Matt Castle, traded. Got something for him. And even the guy who started it all, Drew Bledsoe, traded. Got something for him. Do you notice a theme? And see, it's when I talk about Golden State situation, and when we transition, when I told you they too loyal, and you transition to a group of guys that always knew that wasn't their guy. Why didn't you trade them and get something for them? And now you're stuck, and you're gonna kiss away a quarterback that could have got you a first, second, definitely a 3rd round pick.
Well, then that goes back to the decision last year, though, of why they would take Trey Lance over Mac Jones, or a quarterback that was more ready. I think that, they didn't trade him because they want that Mahomes and Alex Smith model. I think that's what they're going for. But Jimmy Garoppolo, to your point, I don't even think he's near as good as Alex Smith was.
Right.
He's a good locker room guy, but he's not as good as Alex Smith was. And I think that's kind of the model that they were kind of going for. And I think they wanted to trade him, K-Lou, but that shoulder surgery, it cost him I think he stuck it to the team. Everybody thought he's Mr. Nice Guy until he said 2 weeks before, a month before the draft, oh, my shoulder's jacked up. If you're GM, K-Lou, are you trading when the guy just has shoulder surgery?
But again, right? I'm saying you're a year too late.
Why not? Oh, okay, I see what you're saying.
If you notice, Bill did all these moves immediately. What happened? These guys had to play for some minutes, get at some point, showed some promise, and what did he do? Pull the trigger.
I don't know if you remember Rob Johnson had that one good game and they got like 30 million, got traded, got
right. But that's what you do. Like, he knew none of these guys were going to be his guy. Obviously, he had Tom Brady. Different set of situations.
Right.
But I feel like a set of circumstances. But I feel like if you also know that's not your guy, I'd rather play with a nobody than to play with a guy I'm paying big money to and know that's not my guy. I'm going another direction and going to get something more.
You forget to the point, they did make the Super Bowl in 2019 with this guy. Tom Brady wanted people don't realize that Tom Brady wanted to play for the 49ers. I'm not just saying that because I'm a 49ers fan. He called Wes Welker and said, I won't go on any visits. And Kyle Shanahan watched his tape. And that's not rumor. That's what happened. And he said no because they just got off the Super Bowl with Jimmy Garoppolo. The problem is once he couldn't stay healthy in 2020, they realized they had to do something because he couldn't stay healthy. They had to do something, but it was a year too late because they had just went to the Super Bowl. Heck, they went to the NFC Championship last year with the guy.
Come on, man.
Even though it was the spot of him, I watched every playoff game.
That's the problem. You've never thought. None of us have ever thought Kyle and Lynch, that was their guy, and because of that, you move them, regardless.
So you're saying you were the sacrifice to NFC Championship last year to go ahead and start the rookie earlier and just got off Garoppolo for a second-round pick.
The Giants did it. We did it. It did it on the team I was playing on with Kurt Warner.
Kurt Warner was he going to take y'all far that year?
Who knows? We had a great defense, and he had the same pieces already that Eli had. And we went in the tank with Eli when he came in, but it got him better and got him that much closer till all of a sudden he comes out the next year and wins it all. Because they gave him a year to learn it and to bump his head.
Why don't we have the best of both worlds then? We gave Trey Lance a year to learn.
He didn't play. I'm talking about play like you out there throwing picks left and right. You out there getting put on your neck. Like get real bumps and bruises. Like every game.
I mean, like who had a real terrible first year? Peyton Manning, right? And then the second year, but you could end up with like a Jamarcus Russell and lose somebody lose confidence. A Sam Darnold played early and he ain't never been right since then. You know what I mean?
I mean, if you gonna go down that rabbit hole, then most of them been bust. If you talk about the quarterback position in general,
you have a kid, what Trey Lance
it's been way more bad ones than good ones. So you're tossing the coin anyway. Like, I'm a proponent of giving guys, easing them in.
Right.
But I am a proponent. But at the same time, is this your future? The easing part is mid-season.
I agree with you there. I was a proponent to play Trey mid-season, but he hurt his leg. I mean, he hurt his sprained his knee in the Arizona game. Okay. And I think they were going to pull the trigger and start him, but he sprained his knee. He got hurt that game and coming out the bye. But but you get, like you said, you could end up with an Achilles Smith or somebody like that if the kid loses his confidence.
Well, or you could have drafted yourself nothing. Either way, again, you had your first round.
This year's, I think it was a good decision because I think Trey Lance might have been the first pick in this year. When did the quarterback get picked this year, K-Lou? 22nd?
Right.
So I think it was a smart move in hindsight 2020 when you have a team ready to win now. It's just the Kansas City model.
All I'm saying is y'all cut a big check and this guy is giving you nothing back. You can't get nothing for him. And I just look at the teams, Bill Belichick that hangs around all the time because they're always making moves like that.
They're ahead of the game. They see
like when it's a bad trade, they're like, no, it's a worse trade next year when we gotta pay them and we're not gonna match it. That's what it is.
The Jamie Collins of the world who like, oh, why they get rid of Jamie Collins? Start line.
Right.
Yeah, the Stephon Gilmore's.
Young,
like, this guy's defensive player of the year.
Sean, it wasn't. It's not Sean Jones. John Bone Jones' brother.
Chandler Jones.
Chandler Jones.
Well, he still has some productive years though in Arizona. He still had.
But we know we're not gonna pay him.
Got you.
So let's go get something for him. That's what I'm saying. I'm not tripping. We just ain't
maximizing knowing when the value is met.
Right. We're making decisions based on that, not if you think about it, he always cuts guys and they still produce another couple years. But that's when their value's the highest it's ever going to be again.
Yeah. Fake Flowers of the world. He won't resign. He never overpays.
Right. But so that's where I'm at. It's just what I thought about even with this scenario. You know, and Cleveland's Cleveland, so I'm not bless their heart. But Cleveland should have did the same thing. Remember, I said I don't know why, but this is a tryout year for Baker, as if he ain't already proven that he's not your guy. That doesn't mean he's a bad player. Please don't get that misconstrued. Like even with Garoppolo, not saying he's a bad player, but he's not your guy, so he needs to move on.
20, well, that because they had a new GM, but 20, Dorsey got fired, but in 20 he led them to the playoffs. Though a quarterback is hard as heck to, you know what I mean. Josh Allen's and Mahomes and Aaron Rodgers.
You have to evaluate: is this a championship guy? And Garoppolo had his opportunity to prove by himself that he was. He didn't. Colin Kaepernick had an opportunity to prove by himself, and he didn't. At the end of the day, are you a championship guy? Period. And then some of them come in and win it and still don't get the credit for it, and they get them out the way too.
Is Nick Foles a championship guy? He won a Super
Bowl. And that they got him out the way. You know what I'm saying? Same as Trent Dilfer. Got him out the way. You see Carson Wentz on a team, different team every year. Get him out the way. Like, and I know he wasn't even the guy to win it, but he got a ring. I'm just and they still tried to make it like remember he started the very next year like he did win it. So you know what I mean? Like they think that's the guy. You put everything behind him though, and they did in that situation because they thought he was their guy.
Yeah. Then the argument is you can't just because you draft a quarterback high doesn't mean you could you got to stay with him. That's what I think your argument you're making. Just because Baker Mayfield's a number one pick doesn't mean, Dak was a third round. Russell Wilson was a third round pick.
Right.
Dak was a fourth. You know what I mean? Just because the guy's a number one pick, if Trevor Lawrence doesn't have a good year next year, would you get rid of him? Or say that's not your guy?
No. And so if you using Trevor for an example, you give him 3 years. He was number one pick of the draft. And you're giving him that because we still don't know who played with him.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like
a better example would be your guy Tua then.
Right.
The Tua, if he doesn't do anything this year with
exactly, he's not on
every single weapon that you could take, the best of the best weapons.
Right.
No matter if he's the fifth pick, and you say, "Oh, the GM says I was wrong," you got to admit he's wrong. You're wrong. Your guy with the Giants, Daniel Jones.
He still ain't. They've been bad as a team. Yeah, Daniel's been bad too, but they've been bad. Like again, we can't name but one or two guys on their team. Like I don't know about blaming quarterbacks or anybody. Like all y'all bad when it's that situation. But when we can name guys that are studs, and then like Baker Mayfield, we were naming dudes on the Cleveland Browns.
Oh yeah,
and I ain't been able to do that since I was naming Metcalf and Matt, Kevin Matt. You know what I'm saying? Like I don't even remember naming guys like that since back then.
But so, they should. I think they figured when Odell started being Odell again once he left Baker and sent them the video on Instagram like, look at this guy. He goes to the Rams and plays with a decent quarterback. Odell looked all right again.
That's a whole nother situation. Again, what Shannon Sharp probably said about him remains truer than what Odell is saying about himself. And that's he's not a superstar. He's not anywhere close. Yeah. I mean, I mean, look at the consistency. I mean, don't tell me about injuries because everybody gets hurt. And watch this. And we don't say, well, what if Jerry Rice tore his ACL? You know what I'm saying? Would he have been Jerry Rice?
He was
It's
not.
just what it is.
He was non-existent in Cleveland. He looked a lot better. He might have been, he looked a lot better in with the Rams. A lot better with a better quarterback.
Well, sadly, he in the tub again. So
yeah, he is in the
I
tub.
mean, we can't even say look at this year because now he's a whole nother year out. And guess what? Odell's not young anymore. No. So you know what I'm saying? I think that's a tougher argument to win because you're talking about waiting to see for not even 2022 but 23 for him to be full.
I mean, he was relevant again. He wasn't relevant for those 2 years in Cleveland.
I don't know if he was relevant because he was relevant when they were doubling him. Nobody was doubling him there.
Oh my gosh! I thought he was relevant. He became relevant again. I mean,
well, the relevant guy just got a $75 million guaranteed.
Cooper Kupp.
Yeah, that what the relevant guy just did. Like that's who everybody know on that team.
Before we run, Baker just needs to go sit, do the Mitch Trubisky thing. Maybe sit behind a good quarterback for a year, get some tutelage, and try to go back in the market. Maybe try to reinvent himself. I think Jameis Winston was on track to do that. He was having a good year before he got hurt. Maybe that's the route. Unfortunately for Trubisky, the Steelers drafted a quarterback. I think he was going to do that. He was trying to do the same thing, go sit behind Josh Allen for a year and get a starting job. I think Baker's going to have to do that. I think it's best in his best interest to go maybe do that. Maybe try to find a good situation to sit behind, great offensive coordinator or something like that for a year or two. And then, reinvent himself.
Yeah, that's a great idea. I just don't know if he, if you can get it done with those tools, I find it hard for you going to a lesser team and reinventing yourself. Like that's just tough.
Well, I'm saying to you that's like got a good, you know what I mean, like a good starting. He'd be a good backup option, and I mean, you start acting like Baker, like Andy Dalton or something like that. You know what I mean? Like just terrible. He's not.
And it wasn't terrible. You put those two numbers together, and it's not even close. Andy could get you out of the year, get you out of the season. He wasn't gonna throw the game. So that's what the quarterbacks I like. Just don't give it away. You ain't got to win it, but don't give it away. Well, we appreciate y'all for stopping through, pulling up, hollering at us because you know us with from sideline to baseline with MB and K. Lou, the Haven in the building, y'all today. We'll holler. Appreciate you. Peace.